rose up from that. But Saturday night was the night Dr. Davis was scheduled to be in Birmingham originally, and a large number of folks in the community got together to make this event happen downtown in Boutwell. It was originally supposed to be at the Lyric, but the tickets sold out in a couple of hours, and so they moved it to Boutwell so more folks could come. Part of the reason why Dr. Davis was going to be honored by the Civil Rights Institute is that she is from Birmingham. She grew up in a neighborhood called Smithfield, which also became known as Dynamite Hill because of the bombings that happened there in the 50s and 60s. It's a place where middle-class African Americans were allowed to live in the city, and that's probably the best way to put it, because they would draw district lines to keep African American folks in certain neighborhoods and white folks in certain other neighborhoods. The dividing line for Smithfield was a street called Center Street, where Dr. Davis grew up. Now she lived here, she went off, she is a well-known academic, she did a lot in the civil rights movement, she's done a lot as a feminist activist. She has advocated for human rights around the world. She is currently advocating for the abolishment of the prison industrial complex in the United States. She's done a lot in her, I believe, 75 years. She has not been without conflicts throughout her career, and even in this attempt to come back. But when she was telling the story about growing up in Smithfield and talking about living on Center Street, so the houses across the street were white folks, and the houses on her side of the street was where the African American neighborhood began. She told this story about her and the neighbor kids would bet each other whether they could run across the street, ring the doorbell, and get back across the street to safety before somebody came out of the house. And she said that at that very young age that taught her that resistance could be fun. Might be a story for a different sermon, probably from the Gospel of Luke. She went on to talk about that at that same time she would go to her mother and say, why can't I cross the street? Or why can't I go to the library I want to go? Or why can't I go to the school that's better than the one that I go to now? Her mother would say, well, it's because of segregation. But then she would always follow up and say, that's the way it is now, not the way it's always got to be. And for young Dr. Davis, that planted a seed that you could advocate and change the way the world is now into being something that is more just and more complete in the future. You may not live now, but you can see what tomorrow will be. And I tell that story because as we come to this gospel in Luke, that in Luke it's called the Sermon on the Plain, in Matthew it's called the Sermon on the Mount, and that's because Luke says Jesus comes to a level place, and Matthew sends Jesus up a mountain to preach the sermon. We get Luke's version of the Beatitudes, which is the blessed are you. Matthew, there's 9 of them. They're much nicer. They go much better over cross stitch. But Luke gives us the short list. Blessed are you who are poor. Blessed are you who are needy. Blessed are you who are reviled by the people around you. Because tomorrow you will be fed, and you will have joy, and you will be complete. But woe to you who are already rich, who are already poor. Now, it'd be real easy to sit back and go, well, rich people, full people, y'all are kind of out of luck. Are you already got everything you're going to get? But I don't think that's what Jesus is saying. And he's not